Hey guys, welcome to the Tim Lauer Podcast, where we talk about all things politics, local, national, real estate, and entrepreneurship as well. We're here with our guest today, Joe Freeman, running for State Representative 95. Welcome to the show,
Good to
Joe.
be here, Tim. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. So let's start off. Let's tell the audience a little bit about who is Joe Freeman.
Yeah, so I'm from North Mobile County here in Alabama. It's a little town called Central. Raised by a single father, 3 sisters. And my dad taught me the meaning of a handshake. Grew up in a community there, graduated from Central, went to South, moved to North Carolina, got into law enforcement in North Carolina. So I was there for quite some time.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you very much for your acknowledgement. In law enforcement for quite some time, and while I was there, we had 6 kids, and when these kids started walking around the corner with a whole gallon of milk and a whole chicken in one hand, I had to figure out something else to do and how to feed them. And
That's
so
right.
we actually left law enforcement. I got into the building industry, so I'm pretty versed in development and building houses. I've probably built about 850 houses in my lifetime. Yeah,
that's quite a resume.
Yeah. I was with the one of the largest tract builders in the country. It was Torrey Homes at the time, which was a subsidiary of D.R. Horton. Got my contractor's license, left there, started building houses, custom houses of my own, and that was part of my portfolio. Realized in about 2005, 6, 7, we saw the industry changing, and knew that, hey, when you're buying multi-million-dollar lots and you're putting houses on, and they start selling a little bit slower each couple months, something's happening.
Right.
And so I just, my wife and I talked. I went back to school, got into finance, held on to the building industry for a little bit, the license. And of course, we all know where that went in 2008. We had a bad turn of events there.
Sure.
And then during that time frame, I got into finance and started off with a company called Access Advisors, which is pretty much a transitional company. Mm-hmm. And then we transferred after a year or so to Ed Jones, and Ed Jones actually brought me back home over here. And so I was with Ed Jones for several years, rated exceptional throughout the whole time process with them. Got headhunted away from Ed Jones to PNC Bank. So I was at PNC Bank. I was over Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Robertsdale, Saraland locations here on the Gulf Coast. And then I got headhunted away from them to Fisher Investments, where I was the regional vice president for Fisher.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife's in education. She was a teacher, and she went to administration. She had a job at Orange Beach. And, she's actually helping me this year on the campaign. We had our first grandbaby this year.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, we're excited. It's about 2 months old, so we're excited about that.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So you mentioned your time in law enforcement. How much time did you spend in law enforcement?
10 years.
10 years, wow.
Yeah, so I've seen growth too, Tim. I actually spent, when I started in law enforcement for this little town called Apex, North Carolina, we had 12,500 people. And within a 5-6 year time period, we went from 12,000 to 75,000. And I think there are over 100-some thousand people there now.
Wow.
So we've seen growth and how growth impacts our communities very quickly.
So you're going to be able to take that experience and apply it.
Absolutely. I've seen it. I mean, right now, when you're talking about growth in this area, and I live off County Road 6. It's not that's not a secret.
Yep.
When I'm sitting at 6 and 59, you cannot tell if it's, and this is any time of the day, I can't tell if it's summer, spring, winter, or fall. It's just the traffic's just getting more and more each year.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we've seen it.
So talking about law enforcement, and you had how many kids?
6.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. So you were working law enforcement and supporting a family and
Absolutely.
6 kids, and then coming from a single father home. How important is the family unit to getting?
So it means everything to me. I've given everything I can to my kids. I gave them every opportunity. There's nothing that our kids, and we don't entitle them by no means. We teach them the value of $1 and what it takes to be able to survive in today's economy, and how putting money away and investing properly, and they're looking for those rainy days. How important that is to our family. So, and I'm very blessed to have all 6 kids, all employed, all law-abiding citizens, and giving us grandbabies.
Nice. So I completely agree, and I always look at it as one day I'm not going to be there for my kids.
That's
so
right.
they got to be able to be self-sufficient and support themselves. And I agree with you. We can't give them everything because that doesn't really teach them. And that's part of our duties as parents.
Absolutely. We got to let them fail a little bit, right?
That's right.
We don't want them to fail miserably. They got to fail and understand it and feel that pain a little bit and learn from that mistake.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That's the best way to learn sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes, with 6 boys, they're all boys. So sometimes it's like beating heads against each other sometimes.
And it's tough to do sometimes.
It's tough, man. Yeah, but absolutely, you're right. I think, and I say this all the time with my kids, my job is to provide you with everything you need to be successful in life if I should pass away today.
That's right.
And that's what we've done. And that's what when there's a consequence to every decision, they understand that. At this point, when my kids turned 21, they're all 21 now. I told them, you guys, I went from being a provider to an advisor. And I advise my kids now. And sometimes it's not what they want to hear. But again, I give them that advice so that way they can turn around and make their own decisions because there's consequences to every decision. So they got to learn.
Absolutely.
So they're doing a good job.
So important.
It is important.
That's awesome. So let's switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
What does state representative do? Hope you're enjoying the Tim Lauer podcast so far. We talk about all things small business, real estate, politics, local and national issues that affect you most. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to drop a comment below. I read and reply to each and every one. Now let's get back to it.
So a state representative, and very basic, they go to Montgomery, they're going to sit down, they're going to go through budgets, they're going to approve budgets, they're going to develop bills and laws and vote on them and negotiate and argue certain laws to get passed. But what I think the job of a state legislator really is we need to be a conduit between our communities, our district, and Montgomery. We should be listening to our voters here and taking those concerns to Montgomery and advocating for our district, which is District 95.
That's great. So what are some of the concerns you've heard from voters during this campaign?
When we started off in this campaign, we've heard everything from traffic, growth, taxes. I think the one issue, one concern that comes up more than any other is transparency.
Wow.
They want to be heard. The voters in District 95 feel like they're not being heard right now, and they want to be heard. They want to be able to make that phone call, actually speak to somebody, have somebody call them back. And that's, from my understanding, it's not happening, and that's what we want to do. Now, the second thing that we hear about is the cost of living.
Yep.
The cost of living is up. It's shameful for me to have to sit here and think about and discuss that we have firefighters. I'm ex-law enforcement. First responders are very dear to our heart. Mm-hmm. Teachers, my wife's a teacher. For us to think about, hey, we have firefighters in this area that protect areas like Fort Morgan, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Ono, Foley, and sometimes they don't make enough to even live in their communities that they're protecting.
Wow.
And we need to do something about that. We need to be able to say, hey, what can we do to make changes so the people who are protecting us, people who are running towards the bullets or running into the houses that are on fire, can actually live in the same neighborhoods. I think it would be, for me, it would be a privilege to live beside a firefighter or a police officer. I
absolutely.
think that's very much of a privilege to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We need to do something for them.
Yep.
Teachers, we wouldn't be where we're at today without teachers. And, and we may get this later, but the time wants that education lottery, it's hard to be able to do that. It's hard to be able to fund these schools. My wife, there's been many years we spend $2,000 per year just putting information to her classroom, just giving her the tools to be successful in her own classroom.
Wow.
So, definitely we want to look at teachers and firefighters and really support them.
Such a strong part of our community.
It really is. The good, hardworking people, right? Blue-collar workers, we're here. This community here makes up blue-collar workers, retirees, snowbirds coming in. We have a lot to offer to all aspects and all walks of life. So we got to do some more. We got to do more.
Great. I definitely agree. Let's talk about your vision for District 95 and what you want to bring.
So what I want to bring is exactly what the voters are asking for, transparency. I want to be that conduit between District 95 and Montgomery. I want to bring, and for day one, we need to go to Montgomery. We need to start talking to management there and that leadership and saying, these are the concerns of District 95. We need these changes down here. Now, tourism brings a lot of money into District 95, and I think we should be getting more back here than spreading out across Alabama. I think if, as a representative for District 95, I think we should take care of District 95 first, and then anything over that goes back to Alabama, right?
Yep.
That's just my standpoint. I take care of our district first, and everything else will bleed over. Good stewardship bleeds over.
Gotcha. And it sounds like you have some experiences, law enforcement, building, and then finance. How are you going to apply those to state representative? Yeah. So if you're looking at the job as state representative, listening to your voters, dealing with budgets, personally, I used to manage portfolios over $100 million a year, personally. So I know what it's like to sign the front of a check as much as the back of a check. I understand, sitting around a table at night and wondering, how are we going to pay the bills? I own a business as well here in Baldwin County. I own two locations, one in Daphne, one at the wharf. So we understand what the average business owner is going through when it comes to the cost of goods and services rising, inflation, and how payroll keeps having to go up as well, just to maintain good workers. So taking that experience of management, budget, finance, we're going to bring it out to Montgomery. And we're going to start reshaping and asking for more for District 95. Right. Now, let me ask you this. You have a hard line on gambling, a hard no. So what do you feel like casinos would bring to our community?
So, again, law enforcement, right? I'm going back to my law enforcement career. Got experience in when casinos come into town, how they bring prostitution, they bring the shady crime element here. Most folks don't understand that when you're bringing in that type of element into a city, it kills neighborhoods. It kills communities. It will turn around and you will shut down restaurants and you can go to Biloxi. You go 2, 3, 4 streets over and look for the restaurants. They're all shut down because more likely, people are more likely to spend $50 for a buffet than support their local restaurant. It kills communities, point blank. If you want to gamble, we're located centrally where you can go to Florida or you can go to Mississippi. I just don't want it here in Foley.
That's right. Absolutely.
And think about the other side of that too is that you're taxing your first responders as well. Imagine if you brought another 100,000 people here to this area, and we already have traffic issues now. Imagine an ambulance trying to get to an elderly person or someone who has an emergency. How much longer is it going to take for that ambulance to get there? That person may pass away.
Yeah.
We have to build the infrastructure to be able to handle the traffic. We cannot handle that shady element. We're going to have more law enforcement. People do not want taxes to go up. Well, there's nothing for free, right? So if you're bringing gambling here and you got to increase your workforce and your law enforcement and your first responders, that's going to be a tax. Somebody's got to pay for that.
That's right.
And then you got to worry about remember, there's a consequence to every action. You bring you make that action, bring a casino here. The consequence behind it do not outweigh the benefits. It will kill your community.
Absolutely. Definitely something we don't want in Baldwin County.
Absolutely not.
Let's get back to growth. So you you talk about smart growth. What experience do you have from building over the years that you would implement to help facilitate smart growth in Baldwin County?
I've done development work. We put in commercial projects. We've put in residential projects, large residential neighborhoods. I've experienced it all. The one aspect of when you're building, you've got to put the onus back on the builder, on the developer. Right now we have issues in Wolf Bay with runoff. You've got to have the precautions to stop the runoff. You've got to have higher penalties for these builders when they start violating environmental laws. You've got to make sure these builders are paying for the infrastructure ahead of time. It should not rest on the voters to pay for those infrastructures.
And in this election, you've been outspent and out fundraised. How's your experience in finance and business over the years help you overcome that? Yeah,
good steward of our money, right? We put our money where it does the most. We get the most value out of our buck. We've spent a ton of money, and we've been self-funded for the most part. We're backed by the Alabama Farmers Federation and a couple other PACs, and they have donated. But what most people understand is that those donations, they don't go very far. Mm-hmm. Cost of signs, the cost of advertising is pretty expensive. One mailer, if you do one mailer just through our district, it's about $6,000, $6,000.
Wow.
So it doesn't go very far. So we've put a lot of our own money into it. So we've been very conscientious about how we spend our money, right? Just like you would at any budget. Where do we need to spend our money first? Where we get the most bang for the buck, and where we get the most outcome from it.
Gotcha. Right.
Kind of sounds like going to Montgomery, right?
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So what do you say to the voters that are small business owners or investors in real estate right here in Foley, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me give you a war story.
Sure.
This is great. So we own a medical weight loss clinic. Mm-hmm. It is supervised by a medical physician. They run everything medical. All the decisions are run through our medical director. We just manage the people, almost like a staffing agency, right? What the voters can count on is the red tape. We got to cut a lot of red tape to make it easier for people to do business in Alabama as well as District 95. The war story starts this way. We get a visit from a county inspector. For whatever reasons, I don't believe in consequences. We're running for office, and all of a sudden we have a county inspector in our office, and they're asking us for a county license. And I explained to them that 4 years ago when we were told we didn't need a county license. Matter of fact, I had all my notes. I said, well, I spoke to this person. They said I did not need it. And this person looked around, and they said, well, you're selling skincare products now, medical grade skincare products. I said, yes, ma'am. We started that last quarter. I can provide all of the receipts and contracts we signed to show the county that this is not something we've been doing ongoing. It's something we just started.
Sure.
And they said, well, the process here is that since you're selling retail, you got to have a county license. And I'm like, perfect. Just explain to me how to get a county license. Essentially, it's just filling out an application, and then they will assign a numerical value for the license, and you go to probate, you pay the license. So I did that. I said, you'll have the license, the information for the license on your desk by 8 o'clock in the morning. I apologize. We were told one thing. Now all of a sudden there's something else coming up we didn't know about. Again, that red tape, right? Trying to traverse that red tape. Went to the probate office. My county license was $3.68.
Wow.
So think about that. You actually had the county, and we're not going to beat up on the county, but it's just an example of the red tape that we had a county inspector drive from Bay Minette on county time, $30, whatever they're making, county vehicle, gas, insurance, walk into our office, inspect it, which that's their job, for $3.68.
Wow.
Is that the best use of that person's time?
That's right.
It's
a good example of why business, our government shouldn't be in the
right. And then we got ahead of this and we posted this online, not to embarrass the county, just to show that, hey, because we're very much advocates for the county, and I think that you should follow all the rules. But I think the breakdown here is that we didn't have the process. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a copy. If you're being told no for this, but if you change it a little bit, there's another. We should have a dedicated process to how this is how you should run business in Baldwin County, and that way we cut the red tape.
Yep.
It's not going to waste someone's 2 or 3 days of trying to figure out how to fill out an application, and that person can concentrate on running their business and making money.
That's right.
Now, we employ 17 people throughout the Baldwin County. I mean, think about that. If 17 people, well, at one time 20, but that could be up to upwards to what, 60, 70 people in the family altogether. I mean, they have 4 kids or husband, wife, kids. I mean, we take care of a lot of people in our small business, right? So it does not benefit our business for me to run around for 2 days trying to pay a $3.68 bill.
That's right.
And so I think that, and you can take that to the state level as well. I mean, the red tape that's involved and what we need to cut through to make it more efficient for people. And that's what we want to fight for. You know, the small business person that is just trying to start his business, or someone who's been in business for a while. You know, with the way the economy's changing now and the markets are up and down, you know, we have to have something and at least make it a little easier on the small business person to succeed.
That's right.
That's it. It's very simple. It's just common sense, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's so much like with Donald Trump in office now, we're seeing all the fraud coming out and the waste that you're talking about. And it's happening not only on the federal level, but then you get down to state, county, and local government. And it's a perfect example in business. We call it stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
That's right.
And we got to be focused on what the overall picture is.
That's right.
So great example of that. What was the moment that made you want to run for state representative?
So again, you hear stories, right? You hear about people calling and leaving messages not being responded to. And I spoke to a couple of folks in my community that said they had issues and they wanted to talk and they couldn't get a hold of anybody. And I said, well, I mean, the only way to make change is to kind of throw your hat in the arena and go in and start making some change. Now, where it was different for me is that in the financial services arena, we're governed by a lot of ethics and a lot of laws that we can't just run for politics, jump in and run for a position. Even donations, we have to get permission from our compliance department, and that's a process. It could take 30 days to give. I think it was a maximum $200 for someone that's outside your district, and then $300 to somebody in your district, or something very similar to that. Mm-hmm. But because of that red tape, a lot of financial advisors just stayed away from politics altogether.
Sure. And
I was one of them. I would listen, I would hear it, but I would continue on because I couldn't do anything about it. And so when I heard about these issues, my wife and I started praying about it. I said, this kept coming up over really about an 8-month period. And we kept praying about it, and the questions, people kept coming to us just out of the blue. And I looked at Mignon and I said, and when Mignon's my wife, I said, maybe God's trying to tell us something. Maybe he's trying to tell us that we need to kind of stick our toe in the water and kind of investigate further. And we did. And we were approached by the Farmers Federation, the Baldwin County Farmers Federation. We talked with them, and our values lined up, and they endorsed us.
It's a big deal.
That's a big deal. And the Farmers Federation, one thing I told them was that, you guys are back. So we won't always agree on things, but I'll always listen because I'm going to vote how our voters in District 95 want to vote. If a bill comes up about law enforcement or water conservation, I'm going to go to those people who are experts in that field and ask them, how would this bill affect what we're currently doing, and get their input. And then we'll start making decisions about how we're going to vote. Gotcha. So we're not going to be influenced by Montgomery. We're not going to just vote the way the majority votes. We're actually going to have some thought process put into it and know what we're voting on, not just rubber stamping everything.
Gotcha. Definitely commendable, you stepping up and running for office. There's a lot of people complain about what's going on, but they're not willing to do things to make the difference. Right. And
Thank
then you also got an endorsement from the mayor of Orange Beach, Tony Kennon.
I did.
What did that look like?
So, Tony Kennon will tell you I was the very first candidate he's ever endorsed. Endorsed. And he didn't come to me, I promise you that. I actually went to him and I said, Tony, think about running for office, and I really want to hear some concerns from a mayor's standpoint. Sure. Tell me what your concerns are. What are some of your roadblocks? Mm-hmm. What do you think are some solutions to roadblocks? And through our discussion, this was many months of discussion. This wasn't a one-time discussion.
Okay.
And if you know anything about Tony, Tony doesn't make rash decisions. I mean, he really thinks it out. He Tony Kennon loves Orange Beach. And everything he does, he would bleed orange and blue if he bled. And we talked about it, and we sat there and said, hey, for the betterment of Orange Beach, these are some of the topics we're looking at. And we just had a discussion. And I guess through those discussions, Tony realized that, hey, this guy's the real deal. This guy's really trying to make a difference. He's walking away from a career, which I had to, right? Because my firm called me up one day and said, hey, because I had to submit and I had to notify our firm that I was going to run for office. And they said, we received your submission. We think this could be a conflict of interest because you have clients in that area. And let's say a client donates to you and all of a sudden their portfolio rises because the market rises. That could be looked at as a play to pay scenario, which is a conflict, right?
Yeah. So if you were advising Nancy Pelosi, and
that's right. Yeah. So I literally had to step away from a very, very nice job to run for office. So we're in it. We didn't just say, hey, we're gonna run this job and with no consequence. There's consequences to my decision. My wife's shoe budget just went down. And we had a discussion about that. So.
Sure. Yeah. You put a lot into it yourself. We did. We did the same thing. And when you run for office, you learn things. What are some things that has surprised you so far?
What surprised me so far is there's some ugliness to it.
Sure.
And I was warned about it. There's some ugliness to it. It doesn't have to be a direct ugliness. It could be someone showing, throwing some shade your way on Facebook, or throwing shade through the public, and it gets back to you. We've had several, and I don't know where it came from. It just again coincidental. We've had people say our clinics are pill mills.
Okay.
And we don't have a single pill in our clinic.
Wow.
And we had to invite folks in to kind of show them that we don't have anything.
Sure.
And then next thing we know, we're told that we're distributing testosterone.
Okay.
And then we explained and show them that, hey, we offer it, but the way that we have chosen to offer testosterone supplementation is through our medical director. So the medical director will talk with our clients.
Sure.
They send it to the pharmacy, and then the pharmacy sends it straight to the client. So it takes us out of the middle. We don't have any controlled substance at our clinics at all. So,
nice.
There's been some ugliness about it. We've had to defend ourselves. Again, the county coming in. But really, nothing we didn't expect, put it that way. Nothing. Now, I don't think it was geared to shut us down. I think it was geared to just take our eye off the ball.
Okay.
I think it was this is just do something to distract them a little bit and then go forward. But so we handled everything that came around and we went there. Another thing that's been kind of surprising to us is the amount of people that feel like they're not being heard, and that's where our platforms kind of shift a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think everybody has a God-given right to be heard. Right? If you want to run for office, you got a God-given right to run for office.
Absolutely.
Right? So let's give the people a voice. Let's give Fort Morgan a voice. Fort Morgan's been wanting some things happen down there for quite some time. They feel like they've not been heard. I've started running since October. Actually, about October. And a young man named, I'll say his last, Mr. Bedgood, in the Oyster business here locally, had some problems and has reached out to several of our representatives for help. Couldn't get any resolution on it.
Such an important industry for us.
It really is. Too. I mean, our oyster beds are important, right?
Oh, yeah. Keeps our base clean.
That's the reason Senator Elliott just had the dumping in the bay ceased, right? Because our oyster beds. But so I made some phone calls. Remember, I'm not in office yet, but I'm already making phone calls, getting him in touch with the right people, and got his concerns resolved.
Wow.
It's just a phone call.
Yeah.
I just followed up with him.
Nice.
And this gentleman's able to, again, he's a small business owner. He's a fisherman. And for him to be able to conduct business, cutting through that red tape a little easier was very satisfying to me. I'll say it there. It was very satisfying.
Absolutely.
It'll help them out.
It's a big part of what we do as public servants is just solving problems for people.
That's it. It's common sense.
And it's something that we do during, when we're starting businesses, when we're running businesses, when we're, when you're running portfolios or construction sites or different things, you're out there just constantly solving problems.
Yeah.
So a lot of that comes naturally. Joe, why do you believe you're the best candidate for this race?
Going back what I said, I've got experience in finance. I've got experience in budgeting. I got everything it takes to be a good representative. I've got the experience. I think I'm the only candidate that's dealt with over $100 million per year.
Wow.
And budgeted out. I think I'm the only candidate out there that right now in this district that can really make a difference when it comes to listening, getting out there, talking to the voters, and listening to them and taking that as a representative of District 95 to Montgomery. Because I live it. I am a small business owner. I am a resident here in Baldwin County. I employ 17 people here in Baldwin County. I see it firsthand. So the concerns from the voters are my concerns. So I can relate to that.
Gotcha. If you had the opportunity to speak to the voters directly, what do you want to say to them?
Remember this. I would say this election's not about politics. It's about people. It's about putting the right people in place to make a difference. If you're okay with what's happening right now, status quo. If you're not happy and you want to see change, get out and vote on May 19th. We need your votes for the change. And I would appreciate your vote on May 19th as well.
Awesome. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to discuss today?
I think that's it. I think it's everything. I think you've been very thorough.
Okay, good. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Joe, very commendable stepping up, running for office and public servant. It kind of puts you out there as you've experienced. And thank you for being on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely.
Thank you.